talk to our kids and share some life stories with them. We always talk to you about doing what? Doing right. And some of the things you're going to hear today are things they need to do right and how it's affected their life and where they're at right now and how it's impacted their life. And how some of the decisions that they made when they were young still impact their life. One of the guys speaking to you today, some of them are from MacArthur, Reggie, MacArthur. This guy here I watched growing up as a kid. Coach Sweat played against him. You know Sean Sweat. Sweat here. I know where he's at. He's always But Reggie was a great running back at Irving, MacArthur. Played college football, had some trials and tribulations, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. For me, I'm excited about this. I'll let Coach Starter talk to and introduce the rest of them, but please give him your undivided attention.
Definitely. I'm just going to piggyback on that. We got Rick up here. He's got a great story. So, undivided attention. This is Rick Smith. Sir.
How do we say hello?
Hey! Hey, I like that. How you doing, guys? Hey, you don't have to tell me to speak up. I'm loud and proud anyway. That's what they say about short people anyway. They're just kind of loud. I guess we got to speak a little higher so people can see us and hear us coming. But hey, I'm Rick Smith. I'm with a group called Rock Bottom Outreach Ministry. Hey, we're not here to change your faith. We're here to be real. Who knows what real talk is? Raise your hand. All right, somebody, come on, play along. Who knows what real talk is? If I know what real talk is, you know what real talk is. And you say, what does he know about real talk? Well, I have a little bit of street credibility. I may not look it, but I do. And that's what I want to share. Hey, it's kind of funny. We are from MacArthur, and it's funny. The colors we wear have nothing to do with the school we came from. I'll be honest. We had a designer that we really had talked to about making just the right logo. Kind of like when everyone sees Coca-Cola, that you know it's Coca-Cola. And it was important to us that when you saw Rock Bottom Outreach that you said, man, I know who those guys are. And all of a sudden when it hit the page, I knew it, and it just turned out. We, a couple weeks ago, went and spoke at LD Bell, and we looked so much like Trinity, they made us take our shirts off. Every one of us. And gave us LD Bell shirts. So we'd be proud to wear an Irving Tiger shirt. Kind of show how the kingdom of God flows through relationships. Hey, I want to tell you a little bit about me. We're going to speak for 30 minutes total. I'm big on timelines. I promise you this is something you want to hear because our motto for Rock Bottom Outreach is real talk and the real work. Right in the mouth. I know I get bored at work watching slideshows and stats and stuff, and we're not about that. It's about personal stories of how we hit rock bottom. And I promise you, out of our group, there's somebody you can relate to. And we'll go one by one. I'm going to speak for about 10 minutes. They're going to share for about 5 minutes each. And I want you to decide who you relate to out of these stories. I'm going to go first. Let me tell you about me. I grew up, went to MacArthur, had a dysfunctional family. We fought, we screamed. My mom popped pills. My dad was a drunk. But I'll be honest, that's all I knew. And to me, that was normal. If that's your situation, hey, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And that doesn't have to be your pattern for the rest of your life. And that was me. I said, that ain't going to be me. I ain't going to do all this screaming and all that. When I started to look at other families that had, nice Christmases, wasn't all that fighting, I said, ain't going to be me. My passions as a kid, my escape was sports. Football, baseball, started wrestling in junior high school. That became my passion, was sports. That was my escape out of the house. I stayed out of the house because it's so dysfunctional. Anybody relate to that? Well, as I grew up a little bit more, I came to change my life, and I made a commitment to God, my higher power, to FCA camp when I was at Travis Junior High School. As a Bobcat with a guy named Coach Reeves. And I said to him, man, I want to be a Christian, but I didn't really know what that meant, I'll be honest with you. But I said the words, and that was cool. So I went on and I led my life, and I met a girl from church, and I got married, and I had 3 kids named Tad, Toby, and Todd. I tell you their name because I want it to be real to you. I want you to know who them boys are. Well, as you get older, there comes a time that people say you can't play sports no more. You're old, you're slow, and you're beat up. I said, all right, if I can't play, I'm going to coach you. And I'll be honest, that became my purpose. That was my identity. And coaches, I'm going to challenge you today, too, of what's your identity? What would you do if you couldn't coach anymore? Have you lost your purpose? Is there a purpose greater from you? And that was me. That's what happened. My identity became Coach Smith, and I was successful at it. I didn't finish my college degree, so I ended up coaching at the private school ranks. Felt actually blessed to do that. But I coached at several local private schools as a football coach and a wrestling coach. Won 2 state titles as a wrestling coach, and my boys went on to start wrestling for me from the time they was little bitty. When they were 3 years old, I put them on that mat. And that's what we did. Well, over the years of getting beat up, I started taking pain pills. That's how I dealt with it. And I'll be honest, and I want you to hang on to this word, innocent enough. And it started with a half of a Lortab, Vicodin, whatever you want to call it, hydro. And it was funny, I had this little routine. I'd get up in the morning, and I would hurt, and I would struggle, and I would coach. But understand, I was a good dad, and I was a good husband, so I thought. But all of a sudden, I started to think more and more about them pills, and here's what was going on. At night, I'd take one of them pills, and I'd pop in some Madden PlayStation. And I'd pop me some popcorn, and that was my routine. And it was funny, Madden and that popcorn seemed to be a little better every time I took that hydrocodone. Real talk, I was getting high. All right, well, after a while of doing that, wasn't feeling the buzz no more. So I'd take 1.5 to 2. My habit turned into, and understand, I wasn't a drinker, never was a big drinker. My habit all of a sudden turned into about 240 of them that I could take in about a 2-week period. I could pop in pills and I could function. But from those Vicodin turned into Soma, called a Soma coma. My wife knew when I was taking those because I'd get high and stumble around and I'd bust out a whole box of Captain Crunch berries. It'd be all over the place. Real talk, I ain't playing. Then they came out with this cool thing called bars, Xanax. Everybody heard of that? So now I got a nice little cocktail going on. Hydro, Soma, and bars. Guys, my innocent enough was getting out of control and I didn't know it. I felt what I was doing was legal, but here's the illegal part of it. I was running out early, and I was borrowing them. I had me a couple of docs I was working. My innocent enough all of a sudden became illegal. I could manipulate the best doc in the world. Man, call and say, hey man, came from out of town, left my script at the hotel. Let me tell you where that got me. Let's go to Mayo Lake. You've been named the head football coach at a Christian school. Not popping in pills like crazy. My boys are getting a little bit older. All of a sudden, my innocent enough got me a phone call from a neighbor one day when I left for work, and he said, Coach, are you moving? So what are you talking about? He said, there's trucks at your house and they're loading up. My pill addiction got out of control enough that my wife knew nothing else to do but take my kids and leave. Young people, as of today, we were never a family again from May 2008 to this day. She was gone and she took them kids. I had a pastor say, Coach, got to hit rock bottom. I said, how much worse can it get? My wife's gone, my kids are gone, I got an addiction I don't understand, and I was getting sick. Guess what was going on? My heart was shutting down. Called stress-induced cardiomyopathy. Guys, at 45 years old, I've got a defibrillator and a pacemaker in my chest. That keeps me alive today. But he was right when he said, you're not hit rock bottom. I was still controlling things. All of a sudden now I was taking a piss test so I could see my kids. Anyone ever do one of those? Got to go in that bathroom? I appreciate you being real, young man. I appreciate that. But I was controlling things still. All of a sudden, I tested clean to get my kids one weekend. In August, football season was starting. You know the time, Coach. Got to get ready for the season, our first varsity season. I picked my boys up. We had a scrimmage game out in Perrin-Whit. I can't even tell you how many of them Xanax I took, but I'll tell you what happened. Between Perrin-Whit and Ponder, Texas, with my 3 boys tacked on the entire truck, I crossed the center line into an 18-wheeler. Bang! I had just hit rock bottom. And it cost me. Cost me my freedom with those kids. I couldn't drive or be alone with them. Young people, my hand was played. I could not manipulate my way out of hitting an 18-wheeler. I had just hit rock bottom. I ended up in rehab, a halfway house. Halfway house, my roommate was straight up out of prison. And I said, man, that ain't me. I ain't a drug addict. The reality was I had turned into a full-blown drug addict. To this day, I still go to meetings. Praise God, today I'm clean and sober 4.5 years off those pills. And couple years ago to a different woman that's hard on me, I'll be honest with you. Need a hard woman, I got one. Watch what you pray for. Great relationship with my kids. Said I'd never coach again, though I was humiliated. And that was it, I was humiliated, made front page news, and all of a sudden, when I said I'd never coach again, there's a story that broke up north about a team at Gainesville State School. This is where my credibility comes from. Said, God, you lost your mind, but he wasn't playing. He opened that door to that razor wire facility, and I ended up the coach of the Gainesville Tornadoes. I brought a young man today that he's going to share his story behind that razor wire. He was one of them. He was a tornado. He came after me as a coach up there. Hey, they ain't playing up there. You're innocent enough, might cost you 9 months. And I'm going to wrap real quick. I'm going to turn it over. But that's kind of my story of the coach that got his purpose from coaching, and his innocent enough cost him everything. I'm blessed today for what I have. I'm blessed to be able to do what I do. But I want you to listen to these next stories, and they're going to go about 5 minutes each. The first one's Reggie Finch, blue chip athlete from Irving, MacArthur. Held the record book for carries in a game, like 56. Anybody here running back, raise your hand. You ever carried 56 times in a game? No. That's a lot, huh? That's a lot, but he can do it. So, hey, do me a favor. However you say hello, give it up for Reggie Finch.
Y'all all hear me back there? All right. I'm just going to give y'all a little information. Because about 25 years ago, I was sitting where y'all were sitting, but not in a very nice facility like this. We had small weight rooms. Y'all got good stuff now. But anyway, about 25 years ago, I went to Irving, MacArthur. I played in IBFA football for the Red Raiders. I played for the IBFA Vikings. I grew up with probably some of your kinfolk, like say Coach Sweat. He was a running back here before I was at MacArthur, but he was a little bit older. I know the Brooks. Y'all know the Brooks that played at LSU. I know them. I know also the Jacksons. If anybody came to the Jacksons, because we all kind of grew up together out here. But about 25 years ago, I too came from a dysfunctional family. I was very angry at my father for a lot of things because I just thought my father could do a better job at raising me because I was watching how the other kids, and being at MacArthur, I don't know how it is now, but back then MacArthur was considered the rich school. And I grew up on the other side of the wall. We grew up in those apartments. But one way for me to escape the anger that I had with my father, and also being at MacArthur, because there were only a few blacks at MacArthur. So I had racial issues that I had to deal with. So again, like my brother Rick, I had an identity crisis because I was always trying to fit in. And that's a big thing. I'm always trying to be accepted. All right, but whenever I played football, I think I was pretty good at it. I know I got recognized, and just to let you know, Dale Hansen on Sundays would do his high school football countdown. And one of the times he put Irving MacArthur with Reggie Finch, number 1. Then he went down to number 2 with Texas A&M, number 3, Dallas Cowboys, and then Carter, and so forth. So when he got down to number 10, MacArthur without Reggie Finch. So I kind of got a little props back then. But I used my football skills to cover up for the anger and the insecurities and the lack of self-esteem that I had inside just to be okay with myself. And another thing, I heard the post secretary say, what are y'all always talking about doing? It's doing the next right thing or doing the right thing. Back when I was in high school, I was very selfish. I didn't know it, but the root to all my problems and everything that was going on is I was selfish. It was always all about me. I'm on a football team, and I'm getting props, but yet and still, it was all about what can I get. Now, I shared a little bit of when we got pressed, I shared some, talked about the defenses, how good they were, but it was still always about me. When I left MacArthur, I blue chip All-American, and I signed with the University of Oklahoma for a running back. But again, I made decisions that is still, the consequences of those decisions still affected me today. They wanted to move me from running back to linebacker, to defensive back, and I wasn't trying to hear it because my identity and who I was so full of myself, I knew better than the coach. I'm a running back. This is what I've been doing. You don't know what you're talking about. So to make a long story short, I got in a little bit of trouble and I ended up getting kicked out of Oklahoma. Then I went down to Navarre Junior College, and then from Navarre Junior College, I went up to North Texas. And I graduated in the year 1993. But around 1992, I had an accident out in the football field. I broke my hip. So now, my whole dream of being a pro football player, a Heisman Trophy, taking care of my family, and everybody knowing Reggie Finch is gone. Because my identity was being a football player. It didn't matter that I was in school. It didn't matter that I was also married and I had kids on the way. Well, I had 2 kids by then. It didn't matter. All I wanted to do was play football. Oh, there was one other thing I forgot to tell you. When I was growing up, my dad had told me the only way that a black man was ever going to be somebody, because he grew up in the 50s and 60s and all that, was either I had to be in entertainment or be in sports. So I grew up to be somebody, I had to be a football player. Now, my dad was there to help me with my education. Made me sit there and write book reports when I was at home instead of going out. That used to piss me off. And he was kind of hard on me because instead of whooping me a lot of times, he'd make me go work out. And then he'd whoop me afterwards. But I have to say today, I love my father because the way that I look today is based on my father. Because without my father, I wouldn't have had those scholarships. But back to when I was in college, when I broke my hip, I replaced that. I started drinking a lot. I was already drinking in Oklahoma because there were things going on there which I didn't really like and I disagreed with. But I started drinking and drugging. When my hip broke, I still graduated college. I got 2 college degrees before I left North Texas. I got a minor when I left Navarre Junior College. I got an degree in education. Then, like I said, I got a minor in criminal justice, and I got a bachelor's in science in emergency administration. I wanted to work for FEMA and do a lot of chemical stuff. But after I got out of college, I had no identity. I was angry at God because if there was a God, why is this happening to me? I'm supposed to be a football player. So basically, because I'm selfish, I chose my own route. So I started getting involved in the clubs. I became a really good bouncer, down off of the clubs that you might know today, Lizard Lounge, all that stuff way back in the early 90s. And then I got myself involved in drug dealing. I started working for a drug dealer, and then I became my own drug dealer. And by 1997, I got arrested for an ounce of meth, an ounce of coke, 9mm, all my diaries, my scales, all that stuff. Ended up getting 10 years, TEC. Now again, there was another thing that Rick talked about, the innocence. See, prior to that, I was innocent because I was ignorant of the law and I was all about me. Because, poor me. I'm supposed to be this football player. And God, if you love me, why is this happening to me? Dad, if you love me, why is this happening to me? So I just took control of my own life. And every decision that I made had consequences. So I go and I do prison time. I do 3 years TDC. I get out. Now my wife done left me, which she should have, and thank God she did. Took my 3 kids, moved on. But still, when I got out, I had an opportunity to try to do better. But because I was still angry, still self-centered, and still blaming the world for my actions that I put my own self in, I blamed the world. I went back out, and I became homeless.
2 minutes.
You're looking at a man from year 2003 to 2009. I was in and out of jail, living in storage units, and eating out of dumpsters. Till 2009, I made it to a place where I work at now called Souls Harbor. It's a men's recovery house for the homeless, for men who want to get themselves off the street, away from drugs and alcohol. I've been clean for 3 years. I'm the assistant director there now. You're looking at a fellow person that's here in Irving that was eating out of dumpsters. And the Lord has come into my life and kept me clean. Because now it's not about me anymore. It's about doing service work. Because I would never, ever thought I would be standing in front of anybody, any high school player. It's a privilege to be here and share my story. But before I go, I want to let y'all know one thing, so you will have someone who have told you this. Now, does anybody here, I don't know if I can use the B word, but I'm going to say the female dog. Y'all know what a female dog is called? Yeah. I'm quite sure we all do that. Does anybody in here like being anybody's female dog? If I come up and get in your face, what you going to do? You're going to get back in my face because y'all going to let me pump you, right? So we're going to say that's a female dog. You need to read the Constitution of the United States. I believe it's the 13th Amendment. 13th Amendment, basically, it abolished slavery. But that's not true. Slavery still exists. If anybody goes out, commits a crime, and you go to the courthouse, and you get served due process of the law, that means they hand you a sentence. And you go to the state or federal or even a county facility, and you have to do time. You have sold yourself into slavery. You have became a female dog to the state of Texas. You become the property. Your first-class citizen rights that you think you have so much, they're second-class citizens. And see, I didn't know that. I didn't know I was selling myself into slavery because I was being cool, being a drug dealer. There ain't no money, no nothing that could change that until you get off paper. So you can't never say nobody ever told you. If you go and sell drugs and you commit a crime, you go to court, and that judge hands you a sentence, you are now a female dog to the state of Texas. Thanks for letting me share.
Hey, I want you to listen to this story, and maybe that's you. Maybe you're the stud Irving High School. Maybe you're the stud Irving. I don't know. Maybe you're blue chip. I don't know. Say, well, coach, that ain't me. All right, that's cool. I realize that. I respect that. But I'm going to bring up a guy now, Jeff Mitchell. He also went to MacArthur. He played football, co-captain of the team. We played Odessa Permian our senior year, and he was part of that team. We lost in the state quarterfinals. But Jeff was not one of them like Reggie to go on to play college football. He went on to be in the work environment. And let me just be real with you. Most of you graduate from high school, you don't go to college, you're going to be like Jeff. This is what you're going to do. But he's going to share his rock bottom story to hopefully keep you from taking the same path that he fell into. So hey, give him a big hello, Jeff Mitchell.
Hey. Guys, I hit my rock bottom on October 10th, 2008. And how I got there was, I grew up just like a lot of y'all did, playing sports and all that. And so I never got into smoking pot or doing drugs growing up. And out of high school, I wasn't blessed like Reggie to go on to college and play football, so I went to work. And shortly after high school, I started my own business, a concrete business. And but let me back up. Growing up, I was never a believer in God. I never really thought about God because I was always very self-absorbed about myself, and everything was always about me. But shortly after high school, I started my own business, and I worked really hard. And I built that business up into a $1 million business. So, by this time, I'm thinking that I'm like God. I'm living like a rock star, making money, got 15 workers working for me. And but I drank growing up, and I come to realize that was just another door to me making bigger mistakes. And one day when I was 37 years old, I'm 45 now. When I was 37 years old, I went into work one day and I was hungover in my $1 million business. And I had a young guy working for me, and he's like, I came in there holding my head, been out all night, partying the night before, and this young kid says, here, I want to give you something to smoke, it'll get rid of your hangover. So I was, give it to me. So I smoked it, and it was methamphetamine, ice, I don't know what they call it now, but this is when I was 37 years old, guys. I mean, you think that, you'd be smart enough by the time you're 37 not to do this. But I did. And I smoked it, and I liked it. I loved it. And I decided that one time I smoked it, this is how I want to feel every day for the rest of my life. And I did. I smoked it every day for 3.5 years. It became my God. I worshiped it. I gave everything that I had. I pawned off all my heavy machine machinery and all that, just so I can, you know, get more of this stuff. And it took exactly 3.5 years for me to lose I woke up on October 10th, 2008, and I was living in a house that was about to be foreclosed on. I didn't have any money, not even gas money. I've been living without electricity, water, gas, I mean nothing. And I realized that meth was not my God. And I got on my knees that day on October 10th, and I found my God. And guys, I'm telling you, one thing about, you hear stories about, you know, some guy smoked this or shot up this or something like that, and they were hooked just that one time. Well, I'm a living example of right here that it is true, and it can happen, and it happened to me. And you know, chances are you're going to be out somewhere, and somebody's going to say, hey, smoke some of this or whatever, or growing up drinking, and I realize now that you know, and drinking really wasn't my thing. I mean, I go out on the weekends and all that, but you know, that was just another door into me smoking meth. But I've now been sober for over 4 years, just about as long as Rick has, and you know, and I had to go through all of that to you know, finally discover you know, who the real God is, and that is Jesus Christ. Guys, thank you for your time.
Hey guys, one thing I want you to do, I want you to remember the names that go with these stories. And here's why. Part of the thing I struggled with is I had nobody to go to when I realized that I had a problem. I'll be honest, especially as men, we don't want to admit we're struggling. Coaches, just be honest. It's tough to admit that you failed or you're struggling with something. No one wants to admit that. But here's what's important. Before we walk out here today, I want you to take a visual in your mind. We want to partner with you guys. We want to be fellow Irving Tigers, believe it or not. You know, we follow Trinity close, Marcus close, LD Bell close. Because we hope y'all will open the door for us next fall or later on to say, hey, welcome to our campus. Welcome to our sidelines. We want to get to know you. So hopefully in time, you'll look us up on Facebook and say, hey, Reggie, man, I need to talk to you, bro. You really hit home. Rick, Jeff, Mike, you know, need to talk to someone. What I'd give to have somebody I can go to that I can be real with and say, man, I'm out of control. I'm about to lose it. I'm going to tell you, young people, you got to find somebody you can do that with. You got to find somebody you can talk to. You can't carry it alone. It's like a football game. I'll be honest. You have the best running back in the world, and I promise, without teammates around him, he ain't squat. It's a team sport. Christ created us for relationships. And maybe it ain't today. Just say, man, I don't even know you. I don't know if you're real. That's cool. But give us an opportunity to get to know you. All right, you've heard 3 stories so far. So, man, I'm a 16-year-old kid. I don't know anything about working. And that's cool. Okay, you're living today. The boys of fall, that's you. You're not thinking about all that. That's cool. But I did bring somebody you can relate to. Who's 17? Raise your hand. All right. Who's 16? Raise your hand. 15. 14. Anybody? Any youngsters? All right. Appreciate that. This is a young man that you can relate to. If there ain't one of us in here you can relate to, this young man you can. His name is Mike Pena. And he's got a story to share. If you ain't listening to anybody, I'm going to beg you to listen to him. Guys, I was behind that razor wire with him as a coach and a correction officer. And it was off the hook, I'm going to be honest. 5 days, not 5 but 7 of it, 5 a.m. You're told when you can pee, when you can poop, when you can eat. Maximum security for you. If you are behind the razor wire at TYC, you have committed a felony crime. Now, we ain't talking taking Hubba Bubba.
Tell them what that is.
Texas Youth Correction. That's what TYC is. They call it something different now. Brenda, what do they call it now?
TJJD, Texas Juvenile Justice Department.
Either way, it's a fancy word for prison. Razor wire. You don't get to go home on the weekend. Shower, you got 5 minutes from the time, back in the hills, shower. And just because your hair is fluffy and colored, you don't get no special shampoo. You don't.
What's some of the things that got those kids in there?
Oh, Coach, man. Drugs, murder, attempted murder, sex assault. I'll be honest. You know why I didn't go read the chart? I didn't want to know. I'll be honest. Grown man, the biggest grown man in there, they would take it on. Bring it on. What are you going to do to me? I'm a kid. Fisticuffs, brawls. These kids were dangerous. Some of them, innocent enough, maybe just made a mistake. But that mistake cost them 9 months. A lot of them from there, they're going to go to big boy prison. Coach, I'll be honest with you. Some of them sad stories. Had a coach trying to paint a picture and say, is it economic challenging? No. That has nothing to do with financial. It's bad decisions. Bad families. But there comes a time you got to put it on you. Your choices are your choices. I can't blame my mom and daddy for what I did. Reggie can, Jeff can, Mike can. He's got a story. But I had a lot of kids from rich schools ended up there, Coach. You know, you got to unhook that chain from your past and live today. But I want you to hear from him what he did and how it is. Hey, this is real talk at its best right here. We played on a Friday night with 13 kids. Who's watched the Gridiron Game? Who's seen that movie? Yeah, that'd be us. And we was that bad. Eventually made the playoffs because they put us in a different district. But we were playing Nolan, Dave's team. We was playing Trinity Christian Academy. Faith Christian, the one that made the movie up. This is the team that he was on. Had a young man that we recruited, a punter, a young Hispanic kid that played soccer, didn't know nothing about football. So we made him the punter one night. Said, just kick it to the sidelines. And that's what he did. He turned and he kicked it as far in the stands as he could. I ain't playing. I said, Coach, how was that? Oh, hey, that was good. That's at least on the 50th row. I think he hit my grandma in the head. I ain't playing. I had a kid one night, said, hey, coming off, right tackle, I formation, get big. He said, all right, Coach. I said, you understand, right, when they get in I formation, they come off tackle. All right, Coach. I started walking away. He said, Coach. I said, what? He said, what's an I formation? Coach, I ain't playing. It's just like that. I had a kid one time snuck Kool-Aid down in the practice field. We were doing tackling drills, and the guy hit me, he exploded. I'm like, what in the world? And from the calf, he's laughing. From the calf, he stole some Kool-Aid, and he put it in his football pants. I ain't playing. In the huddle, here's what we had to look for. It wasn't like a play sheet fall out your pants. It's Miss October. Yeah, Miss October, Miss December. Pornography. Sneaking in his pants on the football field. Oh, I don't think we're going to run that today. But I mean, it's nice to look at. Hey, it's funny, guys, but I ain't playing. On Christmas, you locked up. You ain't going to see your mom and dad. You ain't playing. It broke my heart, but it is what it is. It's a dangerous place. Hey, give it up for Mike King.
Mike, I'm 17. I'm just released from the Texas Youth Commission just in May 8th. I did 2 years in TYC. I've met people that had time, 3 months up to 45 years in that correction facility. And they're lucky if they make it out at age 19, just because they can get sent to basically TDC for the rest of their time. Growing up, selling weed, selling coke. We tried to sell meth, but it's like at that point I got locked up. From age 12 up to right now, I haven't had a Christmas or a Thanksgiving. I had my first Thanksgiving this last Thursday up since I was 12 years old. I missed it, you know. From 12 to 19, I'll be in the system. For them, was 7 years. I ain't never been on probation. I got 3 felony cases, possession of marijuana over 2 ounces in a drug-free zone, 1 for stealing cars, and 1 for aggravated assault.
7 years.
7 years in the system. As a kid, little kid, 12 years old, started selling weed. Didn't know how to do it. I just took it out of school and I was selling it at school, and it's like I got caught, but after that I got smart. And I did it right. I did it so right. At the age of 13, I became one of the biggest drug lords in the small town I lived in, because that's all that was there. It's always drugs. You know, I had to do it smart. My dad taught me. My dad was in prison, you know, and once he left, I stepped up. But growing up, I had a passion. I know how to rap. I know how to rap music. And I met my older brother that introduced me basically into the studio at the age of 11, 12, 13. I was in out the studio making my own albums at that young of an age while studying drugs. And it's like, he got killed. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I went on to do it by myself. You know, I made up a little clique or whatever. We were out rapping. We opened up for Zero, Trey, Crafty from the Flies. I've met a lot of underground rappers. Not them big old famous rappers because I don't like them, but it's like, I've met all them underground rappers, you know, and it's like, one day I remember we were high, and it's like, we were popping painkillers and we were drinking codeine. We had all the drugs in the car, you know, and it's like, that's what led me up to doing everything I did, was just because of the people that I thought I loved and cared about were basically taken away from me. I went to placement, and it's like, I thought I found God, but a month after I was released, my grandmother had passed away, so it's like, that's whenever I just went downhill, and it's like, I got the mentality where it's like, nobody is gonna die in front of me. Everybody I hang out with, my homeboys I hang out with, they ain't gonna die in front of me, so you would never catch me. I always had a weapon on me. I always either had a gun or a knife. So if I went down, it was gonna be basically for being armed, and all my other homeboys had the drugs on them. And you know, it's like, everything just kept going down here. I probably went to more funerals than probably some of these older people in here. Because of everybody I lost my cousin Baby C. Went to the store to buy some beer. He didn't make it back. I only made it maybe a block away from where we were at. They flipped the car, hit a ditch, and he landed 100 feet away from the crash site. I lost my grandmother, like I said. I lost a 9-month-old baby cousin, and it's like, that's all I knew. You know what I'm saying? I didn't believe there was a God. I didn't grow up in basically a Christian home. So I got sent to TYC, and it's like, the day that I got picked up was the day I was trying to we were getting money. I went to school. I didn't go to school. I went to school for one day, for one period. 5 minutes before I was gonna leave, there was a knock on the door, and it's like, it was 2 sheriffs and 2 probation officers, and I had a blue one. And it's like, they say kids at a young age under 18 cannot receive blue warrants, but they had a blue warrant after my arrest. And it's like, went to court, found out that I'm only gonna do 9 months TYC. I got TYC. I heard 18 months. When I was released, I did 2 years. I've only been clean for 2 years, and I've been out for 6. It wasn't TYC. 2 years, like Coach was saying, everything's in there. I mean, there's porn, there's coke, there's weed, and it's like, you'd be amazed at how some of this stuff is smoked. And it's like, that's what I did as soon as I got in there. You know what I'm saying? The second day I was in TYC, I saw my first drive. Cafeteria about this big, over probably 150 kids just all fighting. And it's basically, you got to get accepted or you won't make it. So I basically was probably in the riot, and it's like, I've gotten pepper sprayed, you know, I've gotten pepper sprayed just to get pepper sprayed because other kids were fighting. I mean, I've seen kids spot in there, and it's probably about from right here to half right there, from this line to this line, and then that's the restrooms and sinks, and then the bathroom's over here, so they fight right here, and there was blood everywhere, on the windows, on the floor. I mean, it's like, how'd they get away with that? Because there's just blood everywhere. I mean, I've seen everything. I've seen riots finna happen. I've seen some of my homeboys and them pulling out a shank because like, if we're gonna shank this kid. I mean,
1 minute.
and it's like a couple months before my first sentence, well, my sentence was about up, my 18 months, I found out I didn't have nowhere to go. I mean, I'm from West Texas. I'm not from around here. I didn't grow up around here. I grew up in West Texas. And it's like, you know, I didn't have nowhere to go. So I told one of my homeboys today, you know what I'm saying? I just talked to him. And it's like, he told his mentor, and basically they told my new mom, which is standing over there, they told the one, they told her, when she first found out, all she was trying to do was find somewhere to go. They have all these type of little halfway houses or whatever you could live in. But it's like, they lost my paperwork and had to do drug treatment again, so it's going to be up to my 2-year minimum. And it's like, as soon as I was released, we fought the state for 10 months, trying to get me in her home. And it's like, when we found out we won, you know, I had accepted Christ in 2IC up to the time my grandmother had her first heart attack. When we found out we beat the state, a couple of days later, my grandmother had a second heart attack, and they thought she wasn't going to make it. You know, and it's like, I've had just every time I was going to speak after that. I mean, I used to speak in my room. I always used to plan, you know, this is what I'm going to do when I get out. I didn't believe it, but you know, it was basically just a fantasy, a dream that I had while I was at 2IC to change kids before they had to go through that and see what I've seen in there. Because I mean, like you said, it's the real deal in there. And it's like, I've met people with 45-year sentences. I mean, some of the kids that would share their stories with y'all, it's like, you probably never cried up to this point in your life, but you hear some of the stories, you probably would cry. Because it's just amazing what you hear behind the reservoirs just because of everything they go through. And you know, it's like, we beat the state, and I'm here now, and it's like, dude, I don't plan to go back to where I was living. And I hope today that y'all understand that, you know what I'm saying, try to change your way before you end up behind the reservoir, because I know after that you'll think twice.
Hey, you know, it's funny when I listen to Mike, and I know he listens to me, it brings back memories. You know, we used to eat the same food, same facilities. I got to go home, and that was the difference. He tells a story called I call it now the last stop sign. And when you play on Friday night, even though we lose 55-0, you know, being out in the free, getting a sack lunch, getting to see some of the honeys, to see a Camaro Corvette for the first time in a lot of these kids. They didn't take for granted playing. So that's playing time. And a kid, one time I gave him a brand new pair of Nikes. And once I started looking, I realized he had 2 right shoes on. And he wasn't going to tell me that because he didn't want to lose his new shoes. Things that we take for granted. Well, Mike always talks about when we roll up to that last stop sign, you get real quiet. Because we're about to go back to the gate. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but there might be somebody here on probation. One thing maybe you didn't hear Mike say, you break probation, it might cost you. Young people, you need to handle your business. From our stories, we're blessed today, but there's still consequences. I will not see my kids on Christmas morning. I won't see my kids on Christmas morning. I can't take this thing out of my chest. Maybe you don't read the Bible, and that's cool, but it does say something that I hope you get. Wages of sin or death, and let me translate. Making bad choices can get you in bad places. And the cost of being a disciple. There's a cost also for doing the next right thing. Sometimes it's a lonely road. And I'm not going to call him out. My buddy is, David Hankins is here. He went to MacArthur, and he said something to me recently. I know you ain't ready to speak, but I want to share this. He also is walking that right road, but he's also found sometimes the right path is a lonely path. Say, well, Coach, if I don't smoke that corn and look at the honeys and gangbang, I ain't gonna have no friends. Sometimes when you get clean and sober, you start going to the bars. Sometimes you find out who your friends really are. We have been lifelong friends. He and I boxed one time and he bloodied my nose back in school. So I'm glad David's here tonight. But my point in saying this, sometimes doing the right thing can be a lonely road, but you'll find out who your friends are. But understand, here's what it may cost you. I'm going to end with this. Had a guy in TYC, a good kid, became a trustee, and I finally said, young man, what did you do to get here? It just don't add up. He was home one Friday night, playing video games. When his homies came by, he drove. His boys came by and said, hey man, will you give us a ride to the store? Being a good guy, he said, cool. And he did. They said, you stay here, we'll be right back. Well, they ran out the store. What do you think just happened? They robbed him. Guess what he was now? An accessory to armed robbery. Being a good guy cost him time on the razor. Choose your friends carefully. And sometimes you're right. It's a lonely road doing the right thing. But only a real man will do the right thing. I'm going to be honest with you. So there's two roads and you choose. But guys, I appreciate you letting us come today. I hope you get to know y'all, these coaches. You know, we're all from Irving. I mean, today we ain't MacArthur Cardinals, we ain't Irving Tigers, we ain't no Nimitz, and I guess it's no school now. Hey, today we're just all family from Irving. And I appreciate you letting us come and share today. Coach, I appreciate it.